He thought he had everything under control, that his lies were flawless, that he would never be caught. But time demands payment for every choice, and when the price of betrayal comes due, it doesn't warn, it destroys, it corrodes, it takes everything away. Today, you will discover how a man who played with fate ended up being consumed by it. But be careful. This story might be more real than you think. The game of infidelity. The phone vibrated on the table. He looked at the screen, and his blood ran cold. It wasn't his wife, but she was walking toward him. His heart pounded. Had she seen it? Had she found out? Quickly, he locked the screen and pretended nothing was happening. His rehearsed smile hid the truth. As always, she sat beside him and kissed his cheek. "How was your day?" He smiled, lied. As always, infidelity was a game, and he thought he was a master. Well-planned lies, excuses always ready, every detail calculated. But what he didn't know was that this game had invisible rules, and whoever plays for too long always loses in the end. He just didn't know when that end would come. The cycle of betrayal. Infidelity never happens just once. At first, it's just a slip, a moment of impulse, something that seems harmless. But then, it becomes a habit. Then, a way of life. Every deleted message, every well-crafted excuse, all signs that he had control. But the truth is, no one controls a lie that keeps growing, and his lie was growing faster than he could hide it. The phone vibrated late at night, and he brushed it off. "Work," he said. His wife, innocent, believed him. But something in her changed. Her eyes no longer had the same glow when she looked at him. Not because she knew, but because something inside her already sensed it. Intuition is a silent force. It doesn't need proof. It just waits for the right moment to confirm what it already knows. And when the truth comes to light, it doesn't ask for permission. The illusion of victory. He thought he had gotten away with it, that everything was under control. But the problem with illusion is that it only lasts until the truth appears. She kept smiling at him, kept pretending she believed him, but deep down, she already knew. And when someone already knows, all that's left is deciding when to act. In the mirror, he saw himself as a winner, a man who knew how to play, who would never be caught. But deep inside, something was already unsettling him. Small details he started to notice. Her gaze had changed, her gestures colder. He started having nightmares. He dreamt of being exposed, of his mask falling. He woke up sweating in the middle of the night, but calmed himself. Unjust paranoia, he told himself. What he didn't know was that his victory was a trap about to close. And when the trap closes, there is no escape. Guilt is a slow poison. The phone rang, and he hesitated before answering. Paranoia started to creep in. The small details, once invisible, now haunted him. Guilt wouldn't let him rest. The lie, which once felt like a safe haven, had become a maze with no way out. His wife said nothing, but her eyes said everything. And then came the question he never expected to hear. "Is there something you need to tell me?" He froze. The air around him seemed to disappear. He let out a nervous laugh. "Of course not." She watched him in silence, and then she smiled, a cold smile, a smile he had never seen before. At that moment, he knew, she knew, and there was nothing he could do to turn back time. Guilt had already settled inside him, and now it was too late to run from it. The first punishment. Losing someone real. She didn't cry, she didn't scream, she didn't make a scene. She just left. No words, no dramatic gestures, just silence, and it was that silence that destroyed him. He stood at the door, watching her walk away. He tried to call out to her, but his voice failed. Maybe, in his arrogance, he believed she would never leave. But there she was, walking away without looking back. He laughed, a nervous, forced laugh. He thought it was just a crisis, that she would come back, like always. But the days passed, and she didn't return. He sent messages, first short and direct, then long, desperate, no response. Calls went straight to voicemail. She erased him, as if he had never existed. He checked her social media. She looked happy, going out with friends, smiling, living. And that's when he felt the first real blow. She had moved on. He was exactly where he had always been. And then, for the first time in a long time, he felt fear. The second punishment, the new betrayal. He tried to move on, found another woman, younger, more intense, more unpredictable. At first, it was thrilling. She was different, freer. But something inside him had changed. He no longer trusted. He started feeling the same paranoia he once caused in his wife. The same signs he left in the past vibrated, were now right in front of him. Deleted messages, vague explanations, uncomfortable silences. He started asking, doubting, and when he confronted her, she smiled. The same cold smile his wife had given him the day she left. She gently touched his face. "Is there something you need to tell me?" she asked. And then, he felt the weight of those words. This time, he was on the wrong side of the story. He wanted to run, convince himself it was just a coincidence. But deep down, he knew what he did to others was now happening to him, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The third punishment, loneliness. Time passed, and he was left behind. The women left, the friends disappeared, the phone no longer rang, the messages, once endless, were now non-existent. The thrill of secret meetings, well-crafted lies, and a double life, all turned into nothing. The same life he once found exciting now felt like a burden, because now there was no one left to lie to. He sat alone in cafes, in bars, in his own home. The silence, once ignored, was now his greatest torment. The silence of a life without meaning. He tried to convince himself he could start over, but start over what? The ones who truly mattered were gone, and those who remained were just passing shadows. He started fearing his own existence. And for the first time, he knew what it was like to be truly forgotten, and the weight of the past. The nights were long, and the thoughts relentless. He could no longer escape the memories. Scenes from the past returned as nightmares. He saw the face of the woman he had loved and destroyed, her gaze, once full of trust, now just a distant memory. The chances he had to be different, wasted. The promises he made, broken. The words of love he spoke, lies. He looked at himself in the mirror and saw a man he no longer recognized. An empty man, without love, without trust, without anyone. Time can heal many things, but some scars are eternal, and the pain of losing what was real became unbearable. He never imagined that one day he would miss something he destroyed with his own hands, but now, regret consumed him, and there was nothing left he could do. Late, regret. He tried to find her again, tried to ask for forgiveness, but she was no longer the same. Her gaze, once full of love, now showed only indifference. She had moved on, and he had stayed behind. His heart pounded when he saw her walking down the street, happy, with another man by her side. For a moment, he thought about calling her, but he knew it was useless. She had learned to live without him, and now he had to learn to live with himself. But how? How do you move on when the past weighs like an anchor? He spent sleepless nights thinking of ways to win her back. But some things, once broken, can never be repaired. He tried new relationships, new adventures, but nothing filled the emptiness inside him. Everything felt superficial, temporary. It was like drinking salt water to quench his thirst. The more he tried, the emptier he felt. There was nothing left to say, no excuse that could fix the past. What did he want? Maybe a second chance. But what he got was silence, the final reflection of the wise old woman. The wise old woman closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Her voice was calm, but carried a heavy truth. The real price of betrayal isn't the pain it causes others. She looked into the distance. It's the emptiness it leaves inside the one who betrays. Because betrayal doesn't just destroy relationships, it destroys the betrayer. They think they got away with it, that they moved on. But time doesn't forget. It collects its debt, sooner or later. And when the bill arrives, it doesn't ask permission. A cheater never truly wins. In the beginning, it seems like they do. But in the end, silence is all that remains. And of all punishments, that is the cruelest one. Because there is no greater pain than realizing you were the only one responsible for your own downfall. And time can heal many broken hearts, but it never brings back what we chose to lose. It never returns what we wasted. Betrayal may seem like a shortcut to temporary happiness, but it always leads to eternal loneliness. And when the betrayer realizes this, it's already too